Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Student Questions. About 20 years ago, I studied to become a physics teacher. As a part of our curriculum, we had a thing called Didactics Lab. It was a lab where they had some basic devices, such as electrostatic machines, pneumatic benches, simple toys and tools. The drill was that one week we were preparing some experiments and planning our lesson, and the next week actual school children would come and we would present our experiments to them and teach them physics. The lab was run by an older professor who was pretty laid back and a young PhD candidate who was doing everything to show us how important she is. As a part of our preparation week, we had to prepare a lesson plan in which we would indicate our aims, our methods and predicted outcome. This is what teachers do in regular work, and as my mom was a teacher, I was familiar with the format, so I was simply writing everything as required, including a brief description of the lesson, like teacher presents the experiment and explains the science behind it, then answers questions from the students. The PhD candidate thought this is not enough and demanded that I write a much more detailed plan, including the exact questions the student will ask. I told her it's impossible, because I can't predict what questions will be asked. She told me to extrapolate on the basis of the questions asked by students during previous classes. So I did. Teacher switches the electrostatic machine on. Girls are screaming. Boys are laughing at them. One of the boys throws a paper ball at the girls. His boys laugh. The girls are outraged and demand for a teacher to do something. One of the girls asks, "Do you really want to be a teacher?" My mom says their pay is terrible. Another boy examines the equipment sitting on the shelf and says, "My neighbor has a basement full of such electric stuff. What do you think he might need it all for?" The teacher tries to conduct the experiment. He is interrupted by a girl announcing, "My auntie is a physics teacher as well, but she lives in another town." One of the boys asks if he can go to the toilet, and so on and so forth. It was like 10 pages long, instead of the usual page or two. The PhD candidate was outraged and told me those are stupid questions that no student would ever ask, and I should write down only the smart questions. I told her she told me to extrapolate on the basis of previous interactions with the students. And the questions and the students' behavior already happened to me at least once. She sent me to the laid-back professor, who read my whole plan, chuckling all the way, and told her that I obviously understand kids already, so I don't have to write my lessons plans anymore. Apart from one page of brief description of the experiment I planned, the PhD candidate was avoiding me for the rest of the class, but I got a good note in the end. The next story is called Organize Your Tools. I've been a mechanic for nearly 15 years. I'm the lead tech in my shop, and my company just sold recently to a different corporation, and with that came a new boss. He is 22 and the son of one of my older bosses, so everybody suspects a bit of nepotism at play. The older boss was ruthless and a jerk, and really put a dent in my confidence about being a mechanic, so I may hold somewhat of a grudge against the family, but I try to do my best to move on and just do my job. The new boss and I have had some minor issues already, in the 3 months that he has been here, but I'm the type of person who can generally put my feelings to the side if the money keeps ending up on my paycheck. Today, however, that changed. I will admit, I am not the most organized person. I have ADHD, and at 33 years old, I'm still learning to function without the medicine that I've weaned off of at 26. My toolbox is normally cluttered, but I keep all my tools in my area or on top of my box. It's the system that works for me. This morning I clocked in and was about to unlock my box when the new boss came up to me and said, "You will not be working on cars today until your box is organized." My box is organized in the way that it works for me. Not good enough for me or the company. I need to be able to find tools when I need them, and it needs to look neat and orderly for when corporate comes through. I paused for a second and said, "So you are telling me that you need to be able to find my tools that I have purchased when you need to use them? I don't remember signing that agreement. He nodded and muttered something about insubordination, and that he would be passing off all the work to the other technician until it was completed to his satisfaction. I had assumed he was bluffing until 3 cars came in and all 3 tickets were handed to the other tech. I don't have any problem being told to clean up, and I would have even done it his way, but I had a problem with his tone, and this was messing with my paycheck. So while he was in the back doing tire inventory, I opened the top drawer of my toolbox, spread my arms and swept every single thing into the drawer that I could. I repeated for the second and third drawer until the top was clean. I used the same process for both of my smaller carts until each one could be closed and locked. Then I clocked out for lunch. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, eating lunch and browsing job listings, while watching him try to open all of my drawers to use my tools, because 3 more cars came in, and the other tech can't handle 6 at a time. I clocked back in from lunch, and the boss asked to speak with me. Apparently, he called the district manager, and also his dad, who is a district manager of another district, for advice. And it sounds like they both told him to make it right, and that he could not afford to lose me. He told me that he just wanted to make a good impression on corporate, who would be coming through in a few weeks, and that he shouldn't have targeted me personally. He paid me for the 3 vehicles he worked on, and I let him know that I was willing to work with him, but if he ever spoke down to me again, there would not be a do-over. I would leave. He also inquired about buying his own tools. He's not a bad dude, just a little anxious, I guess. I suppose I will stick around for a little, as the paychecks are worth it and the drive is convenient. The last story is called Short Sale. In fall of 2005, my significant other and I bought our first house together. We are happy, baby's on the way, house is cute, and in a new subdivision, HOA just formed. We are at the end of a blunt cul-de-sac, quiet, no traffic, the neighbors are nice. 3-ish years later, the US economy crashed. Over half of the homes in our subdivision have been foreclosed on, or are in the process. We aren't paying our mortgage. We've moved out, and a family friend and his family have moved in. They lost their house. He pays me a discounted rent. I'm not paying the mortgage, but maintaining the house with his rent. The HOA is having troubles maintaining the common areas and keeping things clean because of lack of funds. Junky cars and dying landscaping are everywhere. One home burned down to its foundation. A few months after my friend moves in, red fire lane paint is applied to the curbs of all the cul-de-sacs in the subdivision. I'm furious because it prevents street parking in front of the house. Anytime I need to stop by to fix something, or my tenant has a guest, we must park in front of our neighbor's house or in the common collector streets and walk in. I called the local fire department to ask why they need so many fire lanes, seeing how there were no hydrants nearby. They told me they hadn't requested additional fire lanes, nor had they asked for curbs to be painted. They said anyone can just paint a curb red. It's the signage or a hydrant's presence that makes it a legal fire lane. The paints are just there to help you interpret the signage. I check, and sure enough, no signs. Come to find out, it's a ploy by the HOA to drum up more funds. If they paint curbs red and call it a safety zone, their bylaws allow them to fine a homeowner for violating the safety zone. Funnily enough, the HOA president also lives at the end of one of the cul-de-sacs, and now the neighbors can no longer park in front of her house without getting safety zone fines. One evening, just past twilight, wearing a high-vis vest, safety glasses and work boots, I paint over the red curb with boring grey paint, specifically designed for concrete with great coverage. I do the entire cul-de-sac. 3 weeks later, it's red again. 2 days later, grey. 5 weeks, red. Then grey with silicone top sealer. Then red, that flakes off almost immediately. Then red again, flakes. Then a sign that reads, safety zone, no parking. For lack of payment, the home is now under foreclosure, and I'm working with an agency to help navigate and file all the paperwork needed so we can short sell. Short selling in this context means that although we promised to pay the bank $350k plus interest for the house, they'd forgive any amount we own as long as we turned the house over in good condition, which screws us. But it's better than owing $350k on a house worth only $165 that will be legally taken from us in short order. During a short sale, you are required to notify any potential parties that could have liens on the house. This includes the HOA. I'm up to date on my dues and have no outstanding violations, so I think I'm in the clear. But no, the HOA suddenly comes up with a whole list of violations that haven't been addressed or remedied for 5 months, plus additional fines for the delay. The HOA said they notified me in November, but can't seem to produce copies of these multiple notices of violation. They only have the current one in March, listing all the outstanding violations. Black stains on driveway, uncoiled garden hose, unapproved tree, missing bush, missing foliage, dead tree. I informed them that the stains were tire marks from driving into the garage. The unapproved tree, they did in fact approve. The missing bushes, they approved the removal. Here's a copy of the plan and your approvals with your name on it. It's not my fault you don't know what you approved. The dead tree? Many trees tend to lose leaves in the fall, like around November. They might look dead if you're just making up violations in February, but are just dormant and waiting for spring. Even if it was dead, you can't replace a tree in November, December, January or February. No nursery sells saplings that late in the season, unless you want a Yuletide tree. How can someone be reasonably expected to replace a dead tree in the off-season? The HOA delays responding, and the short sale is on a timer. If I don't have all legal items, payments for liens, and documents into the escrow officer by a certain date, my short sale would fall through, and I'll owe $350k plus interest on a 165 house that's soon to be foreclosed on. The HOA fines and fees total $1,955, $45 short of where felony fraud starts. I'm furious. This HOA is gonna screw me one last time, and I'll pay for the experience. So I talk to the escrow officer and see what she needs. Only the money for the HOA lien, and you'll close escrow tomorrow. She's seen reams of them come through, with similar amounts of fines requested by HOAs that hold up short sales, none exceed $2,000. I asked her what form of payment will satisfy her as an escrow officer. Money order, cash or check? A check would be the easiest for you, don't you think? If I write a check to HOA for $1,955, then hand it to you, that will satisfy escrow? Yep. You'll mail the check to HOA after the documents record? Yes. You'll have a check in 25 minutes. The next day, I was on the phone with the escrow officer, sitting in my car in a parking lot. 9:01 AM. Did the documents record? Did the short sale go through? Yes, I'll mail out finalized documents and any other items before close of business today. Thank you. Hang up. I walk into the local branch of my bank and inform the teller I need to place a stop payment on a check, and the HOA never tried to collect or contact us again. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.